What is going on, everyone? Sxvii here with week number 7 of Draft Classic Season 17. And let's get right into it. But before we get into the actual battles this week, we're going to be talking about a little free agents that I made. A lot of other players made some free agents that we may or may not discuss. We'll kind of touch on them as we go. But for me personally, I ended up dropping Hatchrim, and this is the full team, and this is the last week that we can make free agents, being week 6. So I decided to drop Hatchrim for Bruxish. I was between Bruxish and Drampa. Originally, I wanted Drampa for reliable recovery, hazard removal, just being a really strong special attacker, and was decent with like being a fire resist and water resist that my team kind of struggle with. But I also was like, you know what? I feel like Drampa is kind of too slow. It exacerbates a little bit of a fighting weakness, and especially in a team with Bisharp, I really didn't want players to have any more reason to run a fighting move. Like, you're basically running a fighting move for Bisharp if you want it, and then if I don't bring Bisharp, you kind of have wasted a move slot. Granted, Terrapagos is weak to it, but with Terra Shell. My rationale for Bruxish was kind of a couple things. Number one, I feel like its speed tier number 1 was really enticing to me. The speed tier between Terrapagos and Pheasantipede / Garchomp, like Pheasantipede is not always running a lot of speed, so that is kind of like a pseudo speed tier. Granted, if Bruxish is coming, it's most likely going to be max speed, so it kind of gives a reason for players to be like, you know what, I think I probably should, instead of creeping for like Terrapagos and like I can't outspeed Garchomp, maybe like even Adamant Garchomp, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna creep for Terrapagos and then like I can do that. But now they kind of maybe got to creep for Bruxish, which basically takes off on like another 40 EVs, which could be relevant. And then on top of that, it's just a really solid breaker. It has really cool abilities with like Dazzling and Strongjaw. Strongjaw makes, like, even though it doesn't have the highest attack stat in the world, 105, you might be thinking like, okay, that's not that crazy. But, with Psychic Fangs, it's 85 base power, you got Wave Crash, you got Crunch and Ice Fang being boosted all by 1.5. It's not Wave Crash, but getting Pivoting and Flip Turn and Priority, which I feel like, despite my team having a good amount of with like First Impression, Slither Wing, and Sucker Punch Bisharp, and Quick Attack Swellow, I feel like it was really nice to just have another solid priority user, especially Aqua Jet. I feel like there's a lot of matchups like, just shoot, I really wanted Aqua Jet. So that's kind of my rationale for Bruxish. I didn't really see a lot of matchups where Hatchrim was coming. Like, the only one I was debating was last week in week 5. And yeah, I think Bruxish has solid reasons for coming in other ones. So, all right, let's get into the actual battles this week. We got a battle of 2 Juggernauts to start us off. We have Sxvii, who going into this week was 5-0, and Sean, who is a 2-3 and looking to get some revenge, and not revenge, but to get on track to make hopefully push for a playoff. So 2 really, really solid players, and the matchup seems pretty, I don't want to say even, but it seems like both players have great things into the opponent, and they don't necessarily have like a matchup where it's like, oh my gosh, this Pokemon just absolutely destroys the team. For full transparency, Sean and I definitely will prep together sometimes, like more so time permitting, but we throw ideas at each other, and I definitely knew that there was some stuff I was looking at with Sxvii's matchup where I saw, okay, bulky Zard looks really, really good. I thought maybe with a Willow set could be good, or like bulky defensive Charizard, maybe with Dragon Dance. I feel like Dragon Dance Roost 2 attacks felt really good, or even dropping something like Dragon Dance for Willow was a really solid bring this week. So, because something like Mudsdale was pretty free switching into Charizard, so, getting Willow off makes sense to me for that. And it can kind of just like do great stuff without even setting up. Obviously, Mandibuzz isn't like crazy, but like Will-O-Wisping that and Foul Playing could be nice. And overall, Zeraora does really well. Starmie doesn't have the best switch-ins on this team, so both teams kind of have some good stuff. And we'll see what they end up bringing. And we will reset to turn number 1, because this is my second time recording this video. So, looking at the team, Sean ends up going kind of a bulkier route with no Kieran Black, which is really interesting. And Sxvii kind of decides to go bulky offense with Charizard, Keldeo, Torn, and then like some really bulky guys. So we'll see what they end up doing. I think Sxvii could lead pretty much any one of his Pokemon, anyone feels like they have solid matchup in the other ones. And Sean has been known to lead Starmie, so we'll see if he ends up leading that here. So C3 is going to lead Hatterene as Sean ends up leading Starmie. If I'm Sean, and I think this is what he does, I would just go for Liquidation. There really isn't a great switch into it. Obviously, Weezing Galar could come in with like Rocky Helmet. But I think Hatterene just staying in and clicking Nuzzle is a very fair play. Also, Sean flip turning into something like Mudsteel could, you know, potentially predicting a Nuzzle here, and then either predicting that, going for rocks, going for heavy slam. Like Mudsteel applies a good amount of pressure here, so I can see him making that play. Sean is going to end up staying in here and just clicking Liquidation, getting a really, really good amount of damage off on this Hatterene. It's not Helmet, and C3 makes a Psychic play. Very, very fair. I think he just got that play wrong, which is fine. You know, Hatterene being at 50 is not the worst thing in the world, though does kind of suck, because now you can't take a hit from something like Blacephalon. If Tentacruel is running like a physical poison type move, definitely not going to take that very well. And yeah, definitely putting this thing in range of stuff is really nice for Sean, and just tough to put that in that situation. So anyway, going to end up being Leftovers, which is good to know, and Weezing's going to come in here being Gas instead of Levitate, which makes a lot of sense. Also means that Mudsteel can do a good amount, but honestly, it makes sense why he would run Gas, number one for this thing, but also because of the fact that could also potentially stop Blacephalon from getting boosts. It could also, you know Mudsteel is probably going to run Heavy Slam anyway for the Hatterene, so you're like, you know what, he's probably going to have a move to hit my Weezing anyway really hard, so it's honestly, it feels pretty much perfect to run Neutralizing Gas here. And main reason is Starmie, but I know Sean was really debating running Psychic here. He ends up kind of biting himself because he had Zen Headbutt. So he goes for Zen, doesn't do enough. I think Psychic would have done a lot, may not have killed, but at the very least, he's going to take Helmet here, and he's going to take a Strange Team, and the Strange Team definitely would not have killed without that Zen. So kind of unfortunate, because Starmie would have been at a much higher range of health, or it would have been alive in general. I think he had Recover too, so that would have been really, really nice for the Starmie, because you can pretty freely just kind of recover on stuff like Registeel, if it's not running Thunder Wave, and you can run stuff like, yeah, versus Keldeo too. So really unfortunate to lose Starmie there, and good on C3's part to run Neutralizing Gas and, you know, get this exchange done. So he's gonna go up Blacephalon. Does not have a switch into this thing, so he basically just kind of picks a Pokemon, and we'll see what he ends up having. Maybe he's spit off Keldeo like he was last week. Ends up going Keld and takes 55, so he's not spit off, but this is very clearly going to be Scarf here. So pretty free flip turn on C3's part, as he does end up going for flip turn. Flip turn is great because obviously Blacephalon is going to take a million if he tries to, you know, make a cheeky play and stay in there, which you never would. But yeah, so flip turn is very, very free there. And what's great is that now you get your Weezing in, and now you can get a free Pain Split off because Mandibuzz really can't do anything to you. So really solid series of turns there, just to kind of get his Weezing back in the fray and make Zeraora's life a lot harder if that's going to be the win con here. So Torn's going to come out, and it's going to be Swords Dance Tentacruel. Really liked the set. Was suggesting Gunk Shot Liquidation, and Rapid Spin felt really good here, because you know, you can kind of 1v1 something like Registeel, depending on the set, and yeah, you can get a lot of damage on a lot of things. Gunk Shot has really good pressure into his team. So yeah, this is not chill Pokemon music. You're gonna end up going for Bleakwind. I think staying in there was a little bit tough. I would have probably gone for U-turn, but you really don't have a great switch into this Tentacruel anyway. But you know that it's Swords Dance, you probably think that it's probably going to be Registeel, but maybe you think that he's going to go for Liquidation here. So could have also been Helmet, so maybe he was like, oh, I'll get some chip on this. I don't know how much Bleakwind would have done. But yeah, Sean goes for Gunk Shot and misses the hit, which if this was not defensive Torn, it would have done a lot. It might have, I don't think it killed, but it definitely did a lot. Probably would have done like 80%. And that sucks, because now Torn is at full health, and it can pretty freely just go for U-turn here, because you know that this Tentacruel can't really do much to you. And goes into Registeel. Sean ends up going for Rapid Spin. I think going for Swords Dance there would have been a little bit better, because you know that that Torn is probably not going to stay in Bleakwind. Because you know that he's going to get a ton of damage off with Gunk Shot. So goes for Spin. I don't think I hate that play. But getting an SD there would have basically made it so you could potentially 2KO this Registeel, which would have been great. But he's going to Swords Dance again, as Registeel is going to end up being a curse set, which again, the right way to use Registeel as a defensive and offensive pest. So you're going to go for Liquidation or Swords Dance again, as I believe C3 just goes for another curse, as yeah, Liquidation is going to come off and do a good chunk, but not really enough to this Registeel, and he's just going to take him out with Earthquake. But again, Blacephalon pretty freely gets to just come in here and click buttons, so we'll see if he ends up going for Shadow Ball here. So ends up going for Fire Blast and kills the Blacephalon. Now, the roll on... So C3 claimed that this was Spadef Registeel, which very much could have been the case. But I think with that roll on Tentacruel, I think he had to have been defensive. I could pull up the calcs, but that Liquidation should have done more than 33%. 33% was to defensive Registeel, to like Fizdef Registeel, which in my head makes way more sense, right? Like, obviously you want to like live hits from Blacephalon, but you know that Starmie is potentially going to be a big problem, and having another check to that is great. Being better check to Mudsdale, like Sean's team is very, very physically offensive, so it makes sense to be for this thing to be spit off. But that Liquidation damage definitely is telling. So he said that was like a high roll on Fire Blast. I don't necessarily know if that's true. I think it was definitely, it could have been a roll, and it was very likely a roll. But that Fire Blast should have very much killed Registeel most of the time. This is also a Scarf Blacephalon with Fire Blast. Like, that's a very strong attack. So just head calcs alone. But ends up dying. I don't think, again, like there was really any other play he can make, because he really doesn't have anything he can do. Basically has to go Keldeo here. Again, pretty free flip turn here. But ends up going for Scald. Does not get burn on Mandibuzz, which is great. There's a fly right next to me. And if Sean is smart, he goes for U-turn. He does. Awesome. Does take some Helmet there, which sucks. But now you get your Mudsdale out, and you can kind of put yourself in a solid position by going for Rocks there. Now, I think not going Hatterene was very fair, obviously, because you know that, what's it called? Heavy Slam could have come off, and I think Will-O-Wisp was a much better overall play. Now, if you missed that, that would have sucked, because now not only would you have potentially gotten up Rocks, but now you've got to Willow again and take damage, which is fine, though. So he goes for Strange Team, as Mudsdale just goes for Earthquake here. It does very, very little, and you can kind of just go for Pain Split and kind of chip this Mudsdale down. Ends up not being a 2KO, so again, very, very nice there. Ends up going to Torn, ends up being Boots, which is great. So now you're catching this thing, kind of conditioning Sean to go for Earthquake here. But this is a very free Zero Aura, and obviously pretty much have to defog in order to preserve Zard's health. So now he's going to go into Wheezing here as this thing's coming out. So now you can go for Plasma Fist. You know you're adamant, you're doing a lot of damage. Does a good chunk, but you does reveal to be leftovers. Zard's going to come out, and this is a tough turn, right? Because this Zard is potentially a big threat here, right? You still have Mudsdale, which might be able to live a +1 hit, but probably not. And you do outspeed with Blacephalon, but only after one Dragon Dance. So you got to be really careful about how you play this. Sean is going to go for Bulk Up here, as C3 is going to go for Dragon Dance. So now that you're going to be in a position where you're not going to... This, by the way, this Dual Chop, he has Dual Chop on this Zero Aura, and for not bulky Zard, it should kill, right? But this is a very, very bulky Charizard, and it ends up being like max HP with like 152 defense. I believe after the speed boost, oh yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't outspeed, but he does outspeed, which makes sense, right? At +1, you'd want to be able to outspeed Zero Aura. Ends up getting a crit with that Dual Chop. Very, 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 very much sucks. But with no attack investment in this Charizard, this Zero Aura would have been at, it would have taken a hit, and that's where it sucks, right? Like, this would have been a game, right? Because then you could go something like Keldeo and just revenge kill it, and yeah, but like Mandibuzz kind of just sits, so you'd sack something like Mudsdale, and then you go Mandibuzz and you just like roost stall it. So, I mean, again, you can't really beat Hatterene there, but like you roost, and then you go like U-turn, and then you go back into Zero Aura or something, or even go like, I don't even know. There's a lot of turns that could have happened. That crit definitely eliminated a lot of counterplay that C3 had. So now Keldeo comes in, goes for Focus Blast, doesn't even do enough, and now you kind of just win with Zero Aura. So kind of an underwhelming way to finish that game. This game could have been very, very good, or like very good end game, but unfortunate there. Blacephalon basically, as long as Keldeo is around, like it does Scald, but like again, it doesn't do enough over time. And yeah, Zero Aura basically cleans up that end game anyway because Hatterene was low. Torn dies to, like we saw, a Plasma Fist, so it was a really tough situation for C3 to happen. And yeah, sucks that's going to be the way that the cookie crumbles. I don't think he really played that game poorly at all. I think the prep was actually really, really solid. I think defensive Charizard very respectably came in here. And really there wasn't like a lot you could have done different there. I think you kind of just had to like preserve health maybe on like Weezing a little better, but I think he did that fine. Like I think honestly it was just kind of like came down to like getting unlucky and just, I don't want to say getting out prepped, but like Dual Chop Zero Aura like did what it was supposed to do and just got lucky with how it ended up unfolding. And I think without that, I think you would have probably been like a 2-0, 1-0, but most likely like a 1-0 probably victory in Sean's favor, I want to say, but it could have been C3 because it becomes like like, oh, I would have done this, I would have done that, right? And it's a hard game to play. So anyway, moving on to my matchup versus C3, a game that I was going into with very we'll let the game speak for itself, but C3's team is very, very good. I don't want to say like overlooked it because I was like, oh, it's like good, right? You have Iron Valley, you have other stuff, but like definitely thought there was some defensive hills. But Chi versus my team is really good. I really don't have great counterplay to it, and like obviously my Ogerpon is item locked, so it can't really do anything. And Delphox obviously gets outsped every time, so it's like basically relying on like Garchomp to be like Scarf here, and I don't want to run Scarf Garchomp here because it's like not that great. So I'm like, you know what, we'll run a little bit of a different set and kind of just hope and pray that Chiyu doesn't get too out of hand. And we have a really cool Pheasantipity set that we're going to be rocking this week, and ends up showcasing it as well. Otherwise, Bisharp is a really fun matchup because Petron, it's like basically the Petron counter, because like what can Petron do? It can't Parting Shot on me because it's Defiant. It can't go for Shadow Ball super well because obviously resist that, and if he gets Spit F drop, that also gives me Defiant. Can't Malignant Chain, so Petron feels really, really bad here, which is nice because it basically makes Pheasantipity that much better. So that's amazing. And yeah, Scizor also feels kind of bad here because all the Pokemon that are faster than it kind of take nothing from Bullet Punch, like Delphox and Garchomp and Ogerpon, and doesn't really do well into stuff like Slitherwing unless he runs like Flying Move, and yeah, it's just kind of like a bad, and doesn't really do much in Cofagrigus either, so kind of a bad Pokemon this matchup. We do have to be careful like Rotom, because obviously our answer is Garchomp, which can get Willowed, and yeah, a lot of stuff can happen, but yeah, it's a very interesting matchup. Feels very even. Ogerpon goes crazy here. It just, we have to be worried about Serena, so we're going to get into the game, or I guess before that, we'll go into my team builder. Okay, so we are rocking a pretty standard Delphox set, actually a little less standard than we have been running. Enough speed for Noivern. Calm Mind's great because actually with the Calcs +1, everything basically kills stuff. The only thing we don't kill is like Rotom. Honestly, I felt like Plot probably would have been a little bit better, but could potentially allow us to live something like a Rotom hit. Like say we're at like 75% and we're like, oh shoot, we don't kill Rotom, but it can kill us, but it's at a range where Psychic will kill. Great opportunity to go for Calm Mind, live the hit, go for Psychic, and then we like maybe could win the game, maybe we could like force him to come with something else. I don't know, but regardless, Delphox, I really think Psychic is fine. Also potentially if we can catch him on a switch with Delphox, we can also maybe live a Scarf Chi-Yu Dark Pulse, which is always great. And yeah, Focus Blast kills Crocodile, kills Chi-Yu. So pretty solid move here. And yeah, pretty standard Delphox set here. Flamethrower's there for Scizor and just doing good damage otherwise. Not gonna reveal what we're running for Garchomp here. Could be obvious, could be not, you know. It was actually, could have been Dice. I was debating a few items here. I ended up running something that Could have been Dice, could have been something else. You can probably guess it wasn't Dice. But Dice is something I very much considered here. Pretty standard, though. The only thing that's substandard is, ironically, sub. That's for Willow, Rotom. And yeah, so Swords Dance, Scale Shot, Garchomp definitely can go in here if we can get some chip on stuff. So it feels very solid here. We just have to be careful about like Serena and Rotom and like maybe like Scarf Noivern too. I feel like rocks are pretty. He only has one rocker, which is Crocodile. So I don't really care that much about Terra Shell here. And I feel like Meteor Beam is great for stuff like Chi-Yu, killing that thing straight up, killing Noivern straight up is great. So yeah, I feel like Terrapagos is pretty solid here, and feels like it's a pretty good mon into his team. If we get a Rapid Spin-Off, we outspeed everything on his team outside of like Scarf Chi-Yu and everything. And we outspeed Serena naturally, so that's great. Yeah, Flamethrower, Starstorm, Meteor Beam hits basically everything on his team, so it's pretty standard here. Ogerpon feels really good. I'm kicking myself because there's a set that I would have liked to run, but U-Turn was there for Serena. Play Rough, Ivy Cudgel, Power Whip because he has a lot of water type stuff, and yeah, I want to just be able to hit that hard. Hits Rotom really hard, and yeah, the speed is there for his like a Modest Noivern if he wants to randomly be greedy and run Modest. This is the win con this week. So we're running Calm Mind Pheasantipity with Black Sludge, Moonblast, Heat Wave, and Roost. Calm Mind set. We're max HP, max defense, bold, because his physical offense is kind of bad. It is just Crocodile and potentially Psyshock, Iron Valiant, or Scizor. Scizor, obviously, we can kind of nuke that with Heat Wave more so than you'd think. And we can kind of just spread Toxics around. So if he doesn't bring Pecharunt, this thing kind of goes in. If he does bring Pecharunt, that's fine because we have pretty decent checks and stuff like Garchomp. We have Swellow. I feel like it's not the best here, right? Like, it's definitely can do work. But with Bisharp looming, like, I felt like it was like, oh. So there's a lot of different variants of this team I could have built, but I was kind of like, you know what, let's have fun with it, right? And Calm Mind Pheasantipity was a Pokemon that I thought could definitely go in if we can get chip stuff down and struggle with it. And one of those Pokemon that can help chip things down is Throat Spray Swellow. So he does not really have switch-ins to Swellow at all. If we look at his team, we outspeed everything, which is like the first amazing thing. Number two, like nothing, literally he has no Boom Burst switch-in. His Boom Burst switch-in is Scizor. So I'm thinking, okay, my rationale instead of running Specs was I feel like his way of pivoting is going through Scizor and then like U-turning, which is not a really series of plays I want to have happen. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do Throat Spray, which basically is the same thing as Specs, except I get that kind of like first turn not as good, and then obviously like after that it's not as good either. But Boom Burst is nice because I can basically just click it on something, and Scizor is his best way of kind of pivoting into that outside of like Rotom. That's like Spit F, which if you Spit F Rotom, then Garchomp kind of goes in, so I'm not really too worried about that. And yeah, we can just Boom Burst, and then we can Heat Wave the next turn. So if we, obviously the downside of Throat Spray is he knows that we're Throat Spray. Maybe I could run a different item. Maybe I could have run Boots instead. But I still wanted that power, so I felt like Throat Spray was nice and gives me that way to kind of choose when I want to have that proc. So yeah, that's going to be the squad. And let's get into the actual battle. So looking at his team, he ends up bringing a really kind of unconventional team than what I expected, but really only because he brought Water Turtle. Like, I think if he brought, like, Scizor or Pecharunt in that spot, it would have been much more normal. Now, just Water Turtle, actually, like, we saw Shell Smash Blastoise with Faulty come. I think Water Turtle has merit here, but I do kind of, like, question its ability to take on Ogerpon. And that's kind of my thing with, like, okay, you bring Blastoise. Blastoise made sense, right? Signal Beam, Scald, but it kind of runs into 4 move slot syndrome, and that's kind of was like, you know, it's good, but it's like not really something I'm like need to like dedicate like thought process and prep to. Like Pheasantipity should be able to like check it, Ogerpon should be able to check it. Like unless he's running Signal Beam on this War Turtle, I'm not really too concerned about it. Even if it is, it's not gonna kill, so I'm like, all right, whatever. As long as Ogerpon's relatively healthy, we're fine. And even something like Terrapagos can beat it. He has to get to +2, so like most of the Pokemon on my team can kind of like just click a move versus it and be fine, other than like maybe Garchomp, which is kind of, it's good versus Garchomp. I think it's like if you can catch Garchomp and then like on the switch, that's quite annoying. But I'm just going to lead Swellow here. Swellow, like, matches up well into everything. If he leads Scarf Chi-Yu, I feel like he's got to kind of respect me to be maybe, like, Sash Swellow or something. Like, I feel like me leading Swellow and him just going, like, straight up for Chi-Yu off rip is a little bit preemptive. I can see him doing it, but I feel like, you know, something like a lead Terapagos is a little too likely for that. So I'm thinking he's probably going to lead something like Noivern or Rotom, something to like get a pivot off and like match up well versus everything, because like, you know, you can just kind of U-turn out if it's a bad matchup. So the only, if he does lead Rotom, I just U-turn into Pheasantipede and he gets slow Volt Switch off, and that's fine. Not obviously the most ideal scenario, but it is what it is. Thankfully for us, he ends up leading Noivern, which is way, way better. I kind of was just like, screw it, I don't care. I'm just going to lead Swellow. I don't think I felt like Rotom was a little bit less likely because of how prevalent I feel like Terapagos and Garchomp could be as leads, and how like that kind of puts him in an interesting spot early. I feel like Noivern definitely prevents kind of that stuff, but because we lead Swellow, we're in a much better position. So if we were Specs here, we could definitely just like kill him here. So I'm just gonna go hard for a Boom Burst here. I really don't have like, I really honestly am like not super. If I want to know if he's Scarf, so I want to, if he goes for like U-turn here, I'm very curious about that. So I'm gonna go for Boom Burst here. It does 55%, which shows that this is defensive Rotom, so that is awesome. And now we're in a position where like basically his entire team is gonna get 2 KO'd here. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's just Boom Burst away, right? He ends up going Serena, and I do 37. That is like max HP, max special defense, careful nature, assault vest. Like that is like the most SPDF you could possibly be. That, like, I know Swellow is like not the strongest Pokemon in the world, but like this took that so well. So good prep on Cooley's part, though I will say the fact that it's like can't synthesis or anything is great, because that means something like Pheasantipede or like this stuff can just kind of like feast on it. Right, and then, like, we know this thing's gonna be a low HP, so something like a Terapagos can kind of like just spin on this thing, and if it tries to come in on it. So, I'm gonna U-turn here because I can't kill it with Heat Wave. I was kind of kicked myself for not running Hurricane, but I'm like, honestly, there was really no reason to run Hurricane here, like except for this rare scenario where like I can't kill him with her Boom Burst, and even then I don't think I would want to risk it anyway when Pheasantipede is such a good switch into this thing. Like if he knocks off, that's fine. Like I don't think he really can afford to knock off at this point. So I think was a Triple Axle makes a lot more sense, or like something just kill the Swellow, whatever that may be. So anyway, I'm gonna U-turn out, get some damage off on this thing. I know it's obviously not Scarf, so pretty free U-turn there. And you're gonna go with Pheasantipede, and he goes for Triple Axle. It does 20 after, or 25, and then after Black Sludge we are at 80%. So this is a pretty free Calm Mind here. He can knock me off, but I really don't care that much about my Black Sludge, and he's not gonna really do much. We are very, very bulky. So knockoff's gonna do about 10%. That's awesome. And at this point, we can pretty freely just go for another Calm Mind, or we can go for Moonblast here. We go for Calm Mind again, and I can, again, like I said, pretty freely go for Moonblast. It's going to do a ton to this Rotom. Unfortunately, it doesn't kill, which would have been so nice. But it is what it is, right? Or you don't even proc Toxic, which again, kind of sucks, but like, it's fine. So anyway, he's going to Volt Switch, and what really sucks is he gets a crit here, which really blows, because it means that Chi-Yu can't kill us, but like we would have been at like that crit both went through our SPDF and it did like 1.5 damage. So realistically, that would have done like 10%, and we would have been at what is that, like 60%. So the crit does suck, but again, I'd rather him crit now than like when it actually matters. But that being said, Chi-Yu coming in and clicking Psychic is a little annoying, because now I have to kind of roost all this a little bit. Right, so it does 35. It's going to be enough where we don't die to that. Being Black Sludge would have been nice, but obviously him going for knock makes a lot of sense. So we're going to go for Roost there. Now we are basically essentially full health here, and now we can go for Moonblast here and go get a good chunk off on Chi-Yu. This is great because now this puts him in range of like Terapagos without Meteor Beam, so like we can just like Terra Star Storm, do that stuff. Obviously, this thing is Scarf, which is annoying, but like that is what it is, right? Like we have to play around that. We knew that that was going to be the set, so this is our counterplay here. Would have been nice to like maybe have like a quick attack Wellspring or like a quick attack Swallow to kind of be able to revenge kill this, but that's what we did. We do get the Toxic proc, which is great, and at this point I can pretty freely go for Roost here, and this is going to be the crucial turn, right? Pheasantipity. If we look at this team, right, what beats Pheasantipity, right? We know Serena is not beating this. He basically has to rely on Psychic crit or Overheat crit from Chi-Yu, and even then he has to do that and put him in, like, try to put me in range of Iron Bow's Psyshock, right? Or go Psyshock on Iron Bow, and then, like, we very likely would have 6-0'd here if we had just Moonblasted. We know that this Rotom is slower than us. We know that we can just kill him here anyway. In my head, I was like, for some reason, I'm like, oh, he's faster, right? Like, I'm gonna get, like, I don't know why I Calm Minded. Calm Minding here was... Actually, Calm Minding here wasn't the choke. It was not attacking after that. That was the choke, right? So I'm going to Calm Mind again here, thinking, oh, yeah, like, we can, like, just letting this Rotom alive, which is so bad because, like, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, like, Wellspring can deal with it. Like, we can deal with it offensively, but, like, that thing being around for Garchomp, I think my thought process was, like, oh, like, long game, I kind of want Rotom around, right, for Garchomp and be able to, like, sub on it and then just Scale Shot, right? And we... By the way, don't even do that. But we would have just very likely could have 6-0'd there. So I really kicked myself for going for Calm Mind there. That was 100% a choke. And yeah, my thought process there, I honestly can't really tell you. I think I was just like, didn't know the calcs well enough to know. And at this point, I'm going to go for Roost because I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I'll just Roost all this thing and he's going to do that. So he Volt Switches out and now he goes into Iron Valiant. And what sucks is we're kind of low on Roost here, which is like a little bit unfortunate. But he's going to Encore us, which I'm like, dang, that sucks. I kind of knew he would be Encore, but I was like, I figured maybe he would just try to, like, go for, like, something else. I don't know. Like, maybe I should have just gone hard into, like, my Delphox or something there. Because then at very least we could have gotten, like, a ton of damage off. And, like, we don't really need HP on Delphox, honestly. So, like, it's nice for Chi-Yu. But, like, if we have full health Pheasantipity, I'm not, like, too worried about it because it's on a timer. So, yeah, I think going and staying in there might have been a little bit of a misplay. But it's at the end of the day, it's fine. So we end up racing a Roost. And another misplay, I think, was just going... what's it called? Terrapagos here. Not saving Terra Shell was just another, like, boom. We knew that he doesn't have hazards. It's like, ugh, so bad. Didn't really have a great switch into this, but we know he's gonna go for Psyshock, right? So you can pretty freely, like, go, like, I honestly could, I was scared to go pivot through Delphox, but honestly, pivoting through, like, Swellow is fine too. Like, I don't know. I basically just knew Terrapagos, but, like, saving that would have been just so nice. But, like, again, we could have prevented this earlier, right? By, like, just switching out. We had to switch out anyway. So switching out a potential Encore turn was, like, the play to make. You know that he dies to a hit. So I was like, maybe I was worried about the sub. I don't know. But, anyway, yeah. So he's going to go for Psyshock there. Take 12%. And, yeah, that's cool. But we go Pheasantipity knowing that he's going to CC. Basically forcing this thing out. At this point, I can go for another Calm Mind here, which is great. Oh no, I go for Moonblast because I was like, I just want to kill this thing, haha. If you want to try to stay in, we 2-KO you, and you do not 2-KO us back. Do not get the Toxic again, which is great. It's fine. You don't get it again, which is, again, great. At this point, now I'm going to Calm Mind. I should have just Calm Minded again. I thought he would Volt Switch there, expecting me to Calm Mind and then try to go his, what's it called? Iron Valiant. So I don't really think that was necessarily a misplay. So I'm going to Calm Mind there, as he's going to Volt Switch, as he goes Iron Valiant. At this point, I know that he's probably not going to Encore, right? Like, you're in a position where you're like, all right, I don't have my Speed Booster anymore. I'm going to try to just, like, just kill you straight up, right? Because now I can just get revenge. He can just get revenge kill by Swallow. So the good news is at least he wasted his booster energy on Valiant, which is great. And we also don't die to this Psyshock, so I can just kill this Valiant straight up. This Moonblast will kill. Boom. Nice. Amazing. So we're in a great spot. Chi-Yu comes in, which I'm kind of like, okay, this Pheasantipity can get some health back on like Rotom. It can get back health on a lot of different stuff. So, sacking Swellow is not like the thing I'd love to do, but we kind of just die to any hit from any hit anyway. But I don't know, maybe we should have sacked Pheasantipity. I just figured, you know, like, yeah, I think actually sacking Pheasantipity might have been the play there, right? Because, like, I just didn't want, like, him to just be able to spam Dark Pulse versus my team, and that was, like, kind of my fear. So he can kind of just go for Dark Pulse or Flamethrower. He ends up going for Dark Pulse, ends up killing my, my thing. We go Garchomp, bluffing Scarf, though, we would have lived this Dark Pulse anyway. And at this point, I am going to go for... I believe Earthquake, right? Because, like, if you do want to try to go for Dark Pulse lunches, great. I will let you take some poison damage and then potentially just die. So bluffing the Scarf to kind of like secure that, and then yeah, I honestly could have just gone for sub straight up there, or just SD'd off rip. I think if I had SD'd, that would have been a crazy play, and I would have also just won the game. But we digress there. We know that Noivern is in Scarf and that nothing else on our team can outspeed. Yeah, if I had Swords Dance, we might have won the game there. But we ended up going for sub, and felt pretty safe here. Unless you went for Foul Play, which you did go for Foul Play, then we can just maybe Scale Shot. He'll take some chip. Now here is another choke. I forgot Noivern was Infiltrator. If I'd remembered that, then I would have just gone for straight Scale Shot, because if he, like, what can he do other than Hydro me? And then at that point, I can just sub until you miss, and then, yeah. Or, you know, you go Hard Road, or Hard Noivern. So, I'm going to go for Swords Dance here, completely forgetting about Infiltrator. So that was a huge misplay on my part. And then I'm like, ooh, that's not good. So he's going to U-turn. Goes into Serena. We're gonna go for Meteor Beam. Try to play this like that. I honestly, maybe I should have spun twice. I think going for spin there would have been, again, another way to win the game, because, like, if we'd gone for spin, I think we might have been able to just 2-KO this Serena, and he can't outspeed us with anything, and we can just outspeed Chi and go for a Meteor Beam, and then just, like, Terra Star Storm the rest of his team. So, like, again, I'm kind of selling this game in a lot. Like, there's a lot of plays I could have made differently and would have been able to win this game, but I didn't, and I'm, like, just kind of playing on gas and fumes right here. Goes Chi-Yu. I knew he was going to overheat here. Like, I was like, he's going to overheat, and it's going to do a lot. If I had the set that I wanted an Ogerpon, we would have been good, but I could have gone Delphox here to preserve health on this Terrapagos, because, again, if I get 2 Rapid Spins off, I'm in, like, a phenomenal position, because he can't really kill me with any. He can't really do much with anything. Like, War Turtle's there, but, like, is it gonna take 2 Terra Starstorms? I don't think so. And then if I go for Rapids, like, it's in a put him in a tough spot. So anyway, he's gonna go for Overheat. You might be like, oh, well, like, Delphox would have been taking a ton of damage anyway, but it's like, okay, well, now my Delphox is at, like, what, like 40%, and he's taking 6% for Chi-Yu, and, like, he's not gonna be able to kill me the next turn, and then what switches into Delphox there, right? Like, I can just go for Psychic and do a massive amount of damage. So he goes Rotom Wash. I'm gonna make the double into Pheasantipity, knowing he's gonna switch out there, because I know that he's obviously locked in, so now I can get some health back on this thing, and potentially try to preserve my end game with that. But yeah, now he's gonna be able to just go into his Chi-Yu again. Good thing is that he can't go for Dark Pulse here, or else he loses, so I know that he's going to go for Flame. Does a lot of damage, which is insane. And now he's at 9%, which is great. So this is going to put us in a great spot. I go back into Pheasantipity to get some health back. I Roost, as he probably Volt Switches again. Now we have no more Roost PP, which sucks. I'm going to go hard into Ogerpon, because we don't really have another play, because we know that this thing is probably Shell Smash. And he is great, and yeah, I kind of just go for Power Whip, because I, like, don't have another play. Could I have gone for, honestly, going for Play Rough there would have been a really great play, because we knew that, like, what else is he going to switch in? He can't switch in Chi-Yu. War Turtle can't really do much, so I'm going to go for Power Whip. Should have gone just for Play Rough, but that's fine. And would have probably 2-KO'd that War Turtle anyway. So he goes for Hurricane. We go for Moonblast. It does get the Toxic, but it is unfortunately going to get the high roll in the next Hurricane. We did miss, so it's fine. If we got the play right with play rough, then we would have been in a good spot. And now what sucks is that we are in a position where we have to go Delphox, which essentially makes it so that Chi-Yu can kind of just get a kill. So yeah, this is a position I don't love to be, or actually no, he goes War Turtle, which actually is interesting to me because, I mean, again, Chi-Yu pretty much just wins this end game anyway, and I think he just kind of wanted to get kills with this War Turtle, which is kind of annoying to me. I'm like, all right, dude, but like again, I respect it. And so yeah, we're gonna go Ogerpon. Or we go Calm Mind because I was like, okay, like, is he going to be, like, special? I should have just gone hard Ogerpon. If you're going to try to get kills with this thing, then I'm just going to, like, okay, whatever. And, yeah, I mean, he just basically just wins anyway with you. But my thing was, like, I actually think that was actually 100% a choke to go War Turtle, because if I was Trailblaze, then I would have just won the game. But granted, if I was Trailblaze, I would have gone for it earlier, so maybe he was like, oh, he's not Trailblaze, right? Because I already have Power Whip. So yeah, like if I was Trailblaze and you go your War Turtle, then you're basically giving my Ogerpon a chance to Trailblaze and win the game. So you might as well try to go for like Dark Pulse flinches. But maybe you're like trying to get chip on Ogerpon, so I don't know. That makes sense. But like if I had just gone hard Ogre there, then it's like, dude. I mean, because he would have Ice Beamed. So he's gonna Liquidation. He's gonna get his kill. Awesome. And then we're gonna go Ogerpon, and he's gonna Ice Beam, and just add insult to injury. He's gonna Crit Freeze to end the game, which is kind of funny. Nothing like a crit freeze, and we don't thaw, so we can't even kill this this War Turtle. So yeah, I think our prep was definitely like suboptimal. I think that like running a certain sets on Ogerpon would have been good. I think Swallow was great. It did what it was supposed to do. I think our Festivity set was amazing, but really just came down to play. Like we could have 6-0'd. We could have played a lot of like the turns differently. I think going for 2 Rapid Spin. Terrapagos was there. Like we knew that what his game plan was. It was to win with Chi-Yu, and we kind of just like let it happen because we're like, oh, like just avoid it. No, I needed to make some better plays there. I think I was trying at the end, and it was just too little too late. So, great game to Cooley. I think that I was a little annoyed because I'm like, on paper, this War Turtle should not have worked, and it did. So, I'm like, all right. Good. Hopefully get to see him in playoffs because, you know your boy is thirsty for that. So, anyway, enough jabbering about that for 30 minutes. Let's get into the next matchup. We're going to get right into it. We have Ionite versus Inker. So off rip, Spectrier just goes crazy. Like this team has no ghost resist. Though then again, Ditto can also reverse sweep, so he's got to be kind of careful. If I were Ionite, my game plan would be to chip things down, get Veil up, and then try to do stuff with Spectrier and try to make sure that it puts it in range of Scizor. He's also Scarf Spectrier, so that's the thing. And we'll see what he does. I think lead on Ionite's part is probably just going to be either Scizor, and I feel like Inker like can lead Coco. He can lead Dracovish, honestly, because like what really switch, like Ionite does not have a good Dracovish switch in. That's like I guess Executor gives it a good like double resist. So anyway, goes Scizor as he goes Dracovish. I think going, like, this is exactly what your Executor is here for. I would go Executor here, but he goes Vicious Rend, he loses his Scizor. So that was a big misplay, in my opinion, by leaving Scizor in there. I know Ionite and I've helped him with prep a little bit. He's thrown some ideas there. And I get heat of the moment, like, you didn't expect Dracovish lead, but, like, you have to know that what your checks are to things, and Executor was your check to this thing, and even if it goes for Outrage, amazing. Or like Dragon Move, amazing. You know that this thing's going to be choiced, you get a free Veil there. Like, you don't mind taking an early game loss if it's a poke. Like, Scizor is going to be great to be able to check Cresselia, to be able to check Ditto copying Spectrier. So, definitely let that get the better of him. At that point, I honestly would have gone Executor. Spectre there is fine, but you also know that, what's it called? like, you know this thing is probably Scarf, and you're Scarf too, but like, you know that if this thing is Scarf, Executor is 4 times resisting that. It's still going to take a good chunk, but like, you can kill him, so he's never going to stay in there. He knows that he's going to lose that Dracovish if he does. And he does not have like a good Executor switch in. Like, he could maybe go Iron Moth, but he's probably expecting Dragon moves. So like, does he go Crest? Does he go Coco? I don't know. You have a lot of flexibility there. So I think you should have 100% just gone Executor off rip. And then I think you take 2 Vicious Wrens, and then you can fire back with whatever you go, and you wouldn't have lost Scizor. But he goes Spectrier, and now he risks Miss with Willow, which is, again, like, it's fine, right? Like, you get your Willow play off, and you cripple the Dracovish, but now you take a little chip. You're putting yourself in range of Shadow Ball from Ditto. Don't love that play, right? So, again, decent counterplay, but again, better would have just been going Executor. You know this thing is most likely choiced. Go with that information, right? So Ninetales is going to come in. He's going to switch into Coco. Again, Iron Knight's been excessively very good at going for Veil and getting that up. So he knows that he can just kind of go in things hard, and, this thing takes burned Vicious Wrens fine. I think that still would have done like probably 60%. So is that a choke? No, but like, he made the right play in that scenario. Gets Veil up. If this was Encore, what's it called? If that was Encore Ninetales, which I feel like is I would run Encore Ninetales into a Cresselia team personally. But anyway, I would have expected Thunderbolt there too, because like, that Encore Ninetales is there. Inker does go for another Calm Mind. Which is fine, though, because now you bring in your Donphan, and it covers both plays, right? Because if he goes Calm Mind again, you're like, okay, cool. I think this was AV Donphan. It does take 44 from Grass Knot, which is nice that you don't get 2 KO'd by that. Gonna go for Knock. I don't hate that play. I think that was very likely, because like, I think Inker staying in with Grass Knot is good in the sense if he didn't know it was AV. But I would have never risked my Coco there. But again, like, you're not really getting much mileage out of it anyway, so you're like, maybe like, you know what, I'm already set up, might as well try to like catch him on like making an overpredict and go for knockoff. And yeah, again, I don't hate that play from Inker. I don't hate that play from Ionite, so kind of an overall tough thing. Now he probably goes Crest here, so I would have maybe double knockoff there. But Ionite's gonna play it safe, go for Earthquake. Goes for Toxic, and this is kind of where like I start to like, oh shoot, this would have been great to have Scizor, right? Because then you just go hard Scizor anytime this thing comes in, and what can it do, right? You just go this thing, you go for a slow U-turn, and then you get in something. So yeah, he's gonna go Electros on this now. Knocks off eject button, which is cool, but now you're taking Toxic on this thing, and it's like, okay, well, like, you don't have a Toxic switch now, so yeah, he's kind of just like scrambling to like get his momentum back. Again, very good at getting his Veil up, so great. But this Cresselia is just like putting up LeBron James numbers of assists with the Toxic. So tries to make the overpredict and go for Thunder Wave against, I assume, is what, like Spectrier were you expecting, or maybe like Executor? I feel like just going for Toxic there was fine. Like getting chip off. So Ninetales is gonna stay in here as he goes into Iron Moth. As this probably takes a good chunk from that overheat, ends up like looks like Specs damage. I mean, that was a +2 Grass Knot, which I think is like 120 or 100 base power, and that did 44, so that's probably Specs Iron Moth. Ends up going for Dark Pulse, and his rationale was that Ditto, he didn't know if it like Imposter worked after Dark Pulse. And I told him to this, but like, if you're ever in a situation where you don't know a mechanic and you're like, ooh, like, do I click Dark Pulse here? Oh no, like, what if Ditto comes in? Granted, we all make a mistake and like, we're kind of just like jumpy. We're like, oh, but like, Ionite is a very like methodical player. He thinks about his plays a lot. So to the fact that you don't have the time to just look up, hey, does Ditto Imposter, like, does it Imposter happen before or after the attack? Right, it's one of the few things AI is good for, is I can look that up. And if it gives you wrong information, it gives you wrong information. You click Dark Pulse and you're in this situation. But like, the fact you didn't even look it up, I'm a little sad about that. Okay, so after the burn though, he's gonna be able to 2KO with Dark Pulse. But now, like, because he went for Dark Pulse instead of Shadow Ball, which, like we said, his whole team does well versus, right? He still has 2 turns of Veil. Would have just 2KO'd this Tapu Koko. If not just Ogoto. But now he has to rely on not getting Parried, getting Dark Pulse flinch. He gets doesn't get flinch this time, and puts him out of range of that, but he ends up getting crit and flinched. So Knight extremely lucky there, because otherwise, because did that yeah, Veil ended that turn, so if he didn't get crit, even if he got flinched, like this Spectre would have been in 22, so it would have been a roll, right? But you lose your basically your win con. At that point, you lose because like what is Executor? Like Executor can get some hits off, but it basically just loses to Cresselia. Because yeah, like maybe with Trick Room, I don't know, but yeah, it's not. It would look very grim. Not with shout out No Nay. So he gets crit, yeah. So that really sucks for Inker. I'm gonna be honest. Again, Knight like his game plan was good. Like having a Scarf Spectre is great in this matchup, but the positioning was not good. So like this, I think Knight's actually been really good at playing this season. I feel like his play in this game was definitely subpar. And now at this point, like you could 100% get reverse swept if you lose the speed tides. So you're basically Inker has played this really well actually for what he's done. Like I think he's played Dracovish exceptionally well. He's spreading toxics with Cresselia, and now like if he didn't get flinched, granted like his team composition itself was not great because he like loses, but like if it wasn't Scarf Spectre, like this would have just been wraps with Ditto. Like Ditto is a great answer to Spectre in most cases. Except when you lose the 50-50 speed tie and you lose. So yeah, unfortunate way to go out for Inker. And yeah, so just as I said, like losing Scizor sucked. You have an Executor for the exact reason. If he goes for Dragon move, you have your Ninetales in the back to get up Veil. Losing exactly, like you didn't even use it this game. Like it's not the worst thing to lose. It was really there for Dracovish, right? So if he catches you, great, right? Like you're fine taking that trade because you have Scizor, which checks Cresselia, which as you saw can only Thunder Wave and Psychic, and the whole team was getting you turned on. Like yeah, maybe they Ditto, but Ditto doesn't like taking a hit like that. Iron Moth, obviously, getting momentum versus that is amazing because then you can go into something like your, though even I will say Specs Iron Moth kind of went brazy this game. Not gonna lie. Oh, he killed that with. Oh yeah, he just killed it this turn, with Dark Pulse, which I wonder if that was a roll because that was plus 3 Dark Pulse. Nah, probably not a roll. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. So Inker ends up going down. Knight takes the victory, but definitely one that I think he can learn from. Yeah, like I think the counterplay to that should have been not even just willowing. I think just going. The thing is Scarf most likely, and you go for like Executor. You know that it's locked into a move, and then you can click buttons versus things. So yeah, it's a fun game to watch though. Okay, so we have Sully versus our last week's opponent, Owen. Sully has the Simipour again. He loves his Simipour. 2 water types. This top 4 is awesome, though. Okay, so Owen brings pretty standard stuff with Rotom Fan instead of anything else. And yeah, we'll see what they end up leading. I feel like Great Tusk feels pretty good here. Pretty much matches up well into everything. And I feel like Latios matches up pretty well into everything on his team. But he ends up leading Darkrai. So Latios is going to be the lead. So Sully predicts that. Goes Pharaoh as Darkrai is going to go Dark Pulse. This is definitely Spadef Pharaoh. Incinerate does 53 as Leech is going to come off. And unfortunately, I would have gone for Gyro there. I get that you probably thought Vaporeon was going to come in. But like this is a Darkrai sitting in your face. I guess like, you know, is he gonna risk Focus Blast? I don't know. Ends up going Blaziken as makes a pivot to Lottie, pivot to the Vaporeon, and Luster Purges. This thing's slower. Goes into Toxapex. It's a very like pivoty game. I would have gone Toxapex hard on this thing because at least you get Regenerator with stuff. So he goes for T-Spikes, and that looks like it's going to be putting up some mileage, because if that's not Boots Tusk, yeah, it's looking a little grim. So we go for Dark Pulse again. This his Darkrai is going crazy here. But what's great about Darkrai is you kind of just go Blaziken, you can set up SD. So I'm honestly surprised that Sulry didn't go for Psychic there. He's been, in my opinion, he's been very known to like make plays where it's like, okay, this thing is in and like can threaten kill or like go for Protect. Like I'm just gonna go for Psychic there. Like he seems like a player to do that. But with him, you have Vaporeon, it's fine. Actually wonder what Semiport's like role was here. But yeah, now he goes for close combat. That does massive damage. And yeah, now you're in a position where it's like, ooh, what are we doing here? Goes for Protect. As it goes for Declaw. You know that you're always outspeeding that, and that just kills with CC. Ooh. Looking grim. But we'll see. So Simipour, I think it was Sash, I want to say. Yeah, Sash Simipour. So kind of a good stopgap for this Blaziken. Surprised that he went Gouge first if this was like your counterplay. But maybe he was like, okay, well, like, maybe like give me a little bit lower of health and also like make him think that I don't have a Sash Simipour. So yeah, Simipour is going to come out. Torrent too, which is cool. So Torrent Sash is pretty awesome. And probably a Focus Blast too. Fun Pokemon in this matchup. But Toxic Spike is doing numbers versus his team. Goes for Ice Beam. This is probably Expert Bolt or something. But yeah, Darkrai looks like it's got pretty good stuff here. Goes for Ice Beam, does nothing. I would probably switch into my Pharaoh if I was him. Does he end up making that play? He does. Awesome. But you don't really have great switch-ins to this Tusk. It goes for Rapid Spin to get rid of the poison, which is going to be nice for Floette if he can do that. Floette actually looks like it can be... Well, actually, no, because like, he has two Pokemon that just beat that thing 1v1. But, you know, again, he goes... Or, I guess Pharaoh does, but, like, what does Toxapex do? He goes for Baton Pass as goes out into Tusk. I might have even stayed in there. But, you know, you kind of sacrifice, like, yeah. Going Gliscor there was the right play. Makes a great play, goes for Ice Spinner, keeping himself in this game, goes hard Floette, knowing that Protect is coming out. Do see Baton Pass again, expecting Toxapex. Maybe goes for Calm Mind. No, he just goes for Raw Moonblast, makes sense. And he makes a great play and goes for Psychic. Psychic felt pretty free. The only downside would be if he stayed in with Gliscor and just went for Toxic or something. That would have been really, really bad because then he just kind of protects and just wins the game. So, yeah, but it makes a great play, goes for Psychic. I would have 100% just switched into Ferrothorn there. Sacking Toxapex lost you the game there, I think. Because you don't really need Ferrothorn for anything. And you can get Regenerator on that, and now you're like in a position where, yeah, this Tusk is taking damage, great, but like your Toxapex was like the win con in that end game versus Floette. So, yeah, so now he goes for Temper Flare, is going to put him in a position where he can get some health back. But now you've nothing for Darkrai, right? So, really, I actually think this is one of Owen's better played games. Really set himself up with Toxic Spikes really well. And Sully actually had to make a lot of really solid plays to kind of pull himself out of that. But because he's Rocky Helmet and not Leftovers, that's kind of the mileage he needed. And now this Darkrai is going to be, unfortunately, not going to be able to win this game here. Yeah. I think it would have come down to Gliscor trying to win this, and yeah, unfortunately, this Floette is very bulky, so it's gonna die and not take any damage. So, good game by both players, and yeah, I was actually probably the best game we've seen so far. Relatively hacksless, and just maybe like a misplay by not saving Toxapex, but I think Sully played really well. Yeah. Okay. So we have Tavin versus Air. Okay, so Tavin, I feel like the matchup feels pretty even. I will say Zapdos feels like it can kind of play around with this team, which is nice. I don't love the Avalugg Bring. I understand it, but like I feel like it gets kind of like hard-walled by a lot. It's nice into stuff like Darmanitan, but like I feel like Corviknight just kind of sits on it, and like it's nice for like Slowking, I guess. But I don't know. So we'll see how it fares in this matchup. Brambleghast feels really great. Like Brambleghast actually is like goes so crazy here. If he can chip down Corviknight, like it can really put in a lot of work. Like something like a Strength Sap set with Poltergeist just goes insane because you can kind of sit on Tinglu and it can't even toxic you or anything. So you can just kind of Strength Sap, and then Rapid Spin its hazards away. And you gotta hope like maybe he makes a good play with Dragapult on that. But yeah, I think best lead for Tavin would be like Sxvii. That's just what everything. I'd expect like Bronzong or something too. So like something that beats Bronzong. And he goes goes Avalugg. Leading that is interesting because I don't really love Avalugg lead versus a team that can pretty freely just pivot around on it and break Sturdy. This is a prime example, right? Because I can just U-turn, break your Sturdy, and then go Corviknight with just hard walls, and now I'm taking a lot of damage. And that's it. Avalanche does 21%. That does nothing. Goes Fini. And Fini actually is a really solid matchup here, too, because of Misty Terrain. You ignore poisons on Slowking. So it's going to be a Calm Mind set, which is pretty cool. It's unfortunate because, like, it doesn't, like, it beats it 1v1 most times, but we'll see. So it ends up being Calm Mind Shadow Ball. Gets a lucky Spidef drop, which is nice. I maybe would have gone maybe another Calm Mind. Would have been nice. But he's kind of stalling on Mr. Tristan. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I'm... my voice is going. So it goes back into Slowking. Surf does 30%. Again, a Calm Mind would have done a good amount of mileage there. Ends up risking the Sludge Bomb poison. I think without Sludge Bomb poison, this would have been a really tough spot for Air. He could have gone to stuff like Corviknight, but like he would have just been healing back health. I assume he's Draining Kiss last. So, yeah, Shadow Ball was a great bring on this thing because it just hits everything that Surf and Draining Kiss don't. But unfortunately, it does get the the poison. So I think that really kind of hampers Tavin's day. And does end up getting the kill on the Slowking, which is really nice. But honestly, Slowking was not a Pokemon you really struggled with. I think you might have been able to leverage. I think leveraging Moon here would have been phenomenal, right? Like something like a Scarf Roaring Moon would have been awesome. Granted, you might have had Scarf Dragapult to be able to check that, but you kind of learn that, right? Like if he clicked U-turn versus your Roaring Moon, you know he doesn't fear Scarf, and he's like willing to be like, okay, screw it, I'm just gonna go for U-turn. And you can kind of get that damage. And Zapdos feels pretty free into that. Granted, you don't want to take too much damage on Zapdos, but yeah, I think putting himself in that position with Avalugg lead kind of was a tough bring, right? And that kind of comes with like in prep and everything. So yeah, I think Avalugg itself is like kind of a bad Pokemon. I think it's just it doesn't have Spidef. It can work in some scenarios, but I think it's just one of the Pokemon's really hard to play around with. So Greninja comes in. We'll see if this Sludge Wave ends up killing. With Stab, it does. Could have been a roll, could have not been. Who knows? But this Alakazam is going to come in, and then Vessel of Rune, actually, which is really cool. This interaction is Vessel of Rune cancels out Tinglu's Vessel of Rune, which means that it actually doesn't get the Spidef boost from this, or like lowering Alakazam's special, but goes for Side Shock, which is fair. Like you don't want like Greninja just staying in there. But you pretty freely can actually maybe just stay in there if you want to. What's it called? Alakazam will live that Earthquake. Granted, you know, you're in a position where you don't want to take too much damage on it, but so it ends up getting rocks up here. And you can go Zapdos on the Defog. And yeah, you can pretty freely go for like U-turn here. Does he make that play? He does. Good play. Get some chip off from this Tinglu. Putting this thing in range. I would have gone for but yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, like Avalugg can't do much, and like he can just kind of go hard Corviknight and keep making these plays, right? Like you're getting a little bit of chip with U-turn here, and you never want to risk Corviknight, but it's like yeah, what did we do to Dragapult here? Like it's probably Scarf, right? And then if you're not like Kaban or like, yeah. So anyway, ends up going Corviknight. We'll see how much this Poltergeist does. It does 29%. Still decent damage for max HP, max defense. But yeah, now you're in a position where you're kind of coming in on Corviknight, and yeah. So we'll see if he just charges here. He does. So that's fine. You're just gonna be in a tough spot. I think Avalugg, like, it came in a lot, and it's like I get its use case here. Like, it's pretty good versus Corviknight, but like, yeah, like Air made a crazy play there by going hard into his Dragapult there. I would have, at the very least, getting up rocks would have been nice, because then you could have like gotten chip on this, on like everything, like essentially. Like, granted, you don't have a switch into it, but like, yeah, at least you would have gotten mileage out. But he makes even more crucial play, goes for body press, which I think Avalugg or Avalanche, I guess he was maybe predicting Bronzong to come in. So I understand it, but like, going hard Dragapult's crazy. I don't know if I ever agree with that, but it works out for him. And yeah, because he didn't even reveal BP, so he was probably just expecting rock. So he ends up being Life Orb, so we know that this Roaring Moon is going to be able to outspeed with Scarf. Which I think is what he ends up being. That does a lot, though, so that could also be banded. I think that's banded damage. Ends up being Roost on this Corviknight, and we'll see if he ends up being Strength Sap, which it's probably not, because he's probably Mirror Armor, because Strength Sap obviously bounces that back. So ends up being U-Turn at this point. We'll see, but we know this thing is not Scarf. So that's nice. And at this point, it's a tough spot because, like, he can pretty freely just go... I think Shadow Ball would have killed there, though, which is crazy. So it's kind of just, like, slowly but surely kind of getting chipped away, which is always not an unfortunate... or not a great spot to be. But this Alakazam could just kill his Tinglu, Focus Blast if it has it, but he's playing around it to try to get it. We'll see if he has Defog here, but at this point it probably doesn't matter because it's just going to take damage over time. I think leveraging Roaring Moon was the way to win this game because, like, this team does not have good dart. Like, you can knock off stuff, and like if he has to go his Tinglu to be able to sponge that, which you lose your leftovers, and like you basically get in such a great spot. Like, he has to go Corviknight or something, and like Corviknight's fine, but like getting that knock sucks because then it's like you're taking less and less damage. And if you had something like, other than Avalugg, if you had like Infernape here, would have gone crazy. I get that you're trying to beat Darmanitan, but like Infernape versus this team, you get Mach Punch for Greninja. You know, Dragapult doesn't love taking a Flare Blitz, and then you like, yeah, you run like Flare Blitz knockoff. You run like Flare Blitz knockoff. U-turn, close combat. You can even run like Rocks if you really wanted to instead of on Avalugg, which is great. So anyway, I don't like to see an Infernape here, but that's just me. Even something like an Excadrill would have been fine, but no, every Excadrill gets hard walled by Corv. Because yeah, you wanted something to hit Corv with that last spot, because you know that your team struggles with it. Oh, sorry guys, I'm really tired. Happens every time. But yeah, essentially kind of just gonna desperation, try to go for Omni Boost, but it's not gonna work. And yeah, it's looking grim. He's just kind of accepting defeat at this point. Gets Mirror Armored. Brave Bird goes off and gets killed by that. So yeah, an unfortunate way to go out, but I think that this was very, very winnable from Tappan's perspective. Not with the prep. I think this was more of a prep issue. And I think the play obviously of risking Feeny was there, but like Infernape would have just been way, way better than Avalugg here, because Avalugg's getting cooked by Dragapult, by like obviously like physical Dragapult. I get it, like a DD Dragapult. I could see that being really really problematic here, but like you can run Sneak, Brambleghast. Like, I feel like Spin, Sneak, Poltergeist, and then like Power Whip's not crazy. I mean, Strength Sap you'd kind of want, right? You want Rapid Spin and you want Sneak, but Sneak is not like versus a Dragapult team. I feel like that's pretty fair, especially if you're like opening yourself up to that. You definitely just wanted a Mon that could hit Corviknight harder, because yeah, you just didn't have that. And then leveraging Roaring Moon, because this team had like no good knock switch-ins. So yeah, like a Scarf Roaring Moon would have just been crazy here, or like even just banned. So anyway, moving on to the last battle of the week, we have Alex versus the boy Jatun. Lando looks like it goes hard here. U-turn and Earthquake just like crazy versus this team. And then on top of that, I think that something like Talonflame could be really annoying for this team, because he doesn't have like a great way to deal with that outside of like Rock Slide on his guys. Or maybe like Rock Slide, Nidoqueen, I don't know. Also, Low Pony looks like it goes crazy here. Celebi is the lead here. This is probably going to be like Scarf or something. Ends up staying in with that, and I expect that to be either Rocks or Sludge Wave. He goes for Earth Power, though, expecting maybe the Klefki to come in. I think a little bit of an overpredict there, because you know that you can get pretty free damage on that, especially in a Mon that learns a Psychic move. Like, I think that's a little bit greedy, because what if he just stayed there and clicked Rocks, you know? So I think you always click like Ice Beam there, and if he goes something like Klefki after, like, you're completely fine just going for Earthquake the next turn. Or Earth Power the next turn, because like, what does Klefki do? Just light screen in your face? Like, that's fine. You get a ton of good damage off, unless he's like weakness policy. But I don't think that that was going too far in that direction. Yeah, like I said, Lando goes crazy here, so he just goes for Earthquake, just kills this thing. Surprised he didn't go for U-turn. I probably would have gone for U-turn there, but no need to overpredict. Ends up going Delayed. It does make a crucial misplay and just goes and lets his Lando die. Yeah, which Milotic is like such a good switch into this thing, and like, you know that this Glade is pretty, like, it's threatening, but you have a Megalop, you have Klefki, like, you have a lot of stuff that can just take this thing on. And Milotic is good, but like, it's not like winning you the game with like Superior there, right? So yeah, me and him both agreed. I just talked to him, this game just happened. He was like, oh yeah, I don't know why I just almost threw the game away by clicking triple axle. But ends up taking that, not getting Flame Body, which is lucky on Alex's part, but like, you know, it's the name of the game. Get some damage off with Flare Blitz. I completely understand this play. You just want to get some chip to put this thing in range of CC, and Thunder Punch is just going to kill this thing and gets a burn, which is quite lucky. I think otherwise this Melmetal would have been really, really annoying, because Double Iron Bash would have done, what, 40% through screens, which is insane. Like, that would have done 90 outside of screens. Ends up going for Brick Break, which is great prep. And Tun's just going to be trying to get up spikes, which is really good in this matchup. Yeah, like, he doesn't have any removal outside of like Defog, Hydra, or Superior. So Brick Break's going to come out. He's going to be Rocky Helmet, and yeah, now at this point he's going to be taking 2 things of health. He's going to flip turn out into Klefki again, which sucks that he has to sack this thing off. And now this thing is at 4%. So Lava Bunny's going to come in here. He's going to go for U-turn, as he's going to U-turn out, I believe, his Milotic. Awesome. Unfortunate because it's going to let Superior in here. But that's cool, because then you can get off an Ice Beam and put this thing in range of stuff. If this thing is Scarf, that is unfortunate. And Celebi should be able to live one, though, from this range. So you could probably just go Celebi and go for U-turn here. As he's just going to go straight for the return. He's not going to be Scarf. As he goes Tapu Lele. And it should be Scarf, right? Like, this should be Scarf. No, it is not. And 2 spikes put in the mileage here, because now you can just kill that Tapu Lele. Goes for Draco, doesn't kill, goes for CC, and yeah, that's going to be pretty much the game. Yeah, I thought that return would not kill there, but I guess it did. I mean, this is a matchup where Lopunny can just run Adamant, and yeah, it's not a great scenario to be in, because Adamant Lopunny can just kind of run through your team. But yeah, that's gonna be week number 6, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It was a pretty good week. We had a lot of good matchups, and yeah, thanks you so much for watching, and get toward it.